Hi, welcome back to So we're gonna talk about the new show on Netflix called Trese, which is an adaptation of the Filipino comic book of the same name. Created by Mr. Tan and Mr. Cajo Baldissimo in 2005, it's a story that revolves around the world of Alexandra Trese. She's a crime-fighting supernatural investigator whose family's duty is to bring balance to both our world and, well, the supernatural one. With her wits and her ever-expanding knowledge of the underworld, plus the occasional assistance from their human and non-human allies, she and her twin companions Crispin and Basilio solve cases committed by the mythological creatures of the Philippines, as well as the corrupt Filipinos who delve into the supernatural for their own personal gain. No crime goes unsolved in their city, and those who wish to cause trouble better prepared for the wrath of Alexandra Trese. Think of her as Batman, but with aswangs, tikbalangs, and manananggals. You should Google those. Those are terrifying. Anyway, so the comic book is amazing, hands down. If you have the chance to pick those up, you should. They do a really good job at combining two different worlds together, showing you how the supernatural side seamlessly blends in with the modern Filipino landscape. It shows us that certain things we do in our world affect the lives of those in the supernatural one, and how relationships with mythical creatures can be rewarding or can be very dangerous, and vice versa. It also paid respect to the Filipino culture of telling stories about these mythical creatures, which is a way of teaching us, as kids, not only people, but also forces that we can't control or understand. Am I making any sense? Now let's talk about the show. The adaptation covers the first 3 volumes. In the comics, the stories are more self-contained and done episodically, where Trese handles cases one by one. In the show, however, they combine all 3 volumes into this one big story that has this overarching plotline that connects everything together. They still do follow the storylines from the comics, but they change it slightly, which in a way benefits the animation format, meaning there's more action-based storytelling rather than just exposition through dialogue. Though they did have a very long monologue at the end, which kind of put me off. They also gave Alexandra more emotion and made her personality more grounded. She's still the cold and calculating crime fighter, but she now shows a little bit more of her vulnerable side and makes her feel a bit more human, for a lack of a better term. The only concern I have for this story is that it felt a little bit rushed. There was a lot of times where there could have been more context or explanation to what was happening. Which is why I think the show would have benefited from more episodes, or even a longer runtime, where they are allowed to explore on the characters and more on the events, and give more context to everything happening, just like in the comic books, where there's an explanation for everything that ties everything together. Another thing I like that was new is that they gave some of the side characters like Hank and Chief Guerrero more character moments, showing us more of their personality and their relevance to Trese and the world that they live in. They also made a big change in the story, which made it a little bit darker compared to the comics, but it did add a little bit more spice to the show, which is also good. It made me appreciate this new version of Trese a little bit more. I don't want to get into spoilers, because honestly there's a lot of things they changed a lot of things, and it kind of got a little confusing if you recently read the comics. Anyway, as for the animation, there's not really much to say. It does draw you in with a lot of the fast-paced action, beautifully drawn cityscapes. You can really see how different Manila looks from in that world. You got a lot of good character designs. There's also a lot of beautifully drawn gore and violence and magic and gore. So yeah, the animation is good. There's nothing else to say. As for the Tagalog dub, it's the best one we've had so far in the Philippines, which is not saying that much. Laida Soberano was okay as Alexandra Trese, but there was just something missing from her voice acting. The other voice actors were fine as well. It was also kind of awkward sometimes when the lip flapping didn't match the voice lines from the Tagalog dub. I think it was obviously more catered to the English dub than the Tagalog one. So I don't want to be too nitpicky about it. Uh, One thing I didn't like about the dub was that they still used a Tagalog that was a little too formal. We don't really speak like that anymore. There's a more simplified or modern version of Tagalog that we use that I think will definitely work on the show. Honestly, I was watching it in Tagalog at first, and I felt so distant to my own language since I could barely comprehend some of the words that they used. Then again, that is kind of a me thing. Anyway, there's really not much to say about the show. It's good. It's good. It's good, but it's a little too short. So in conclusion, Trese is a good adaptation. It can be better, but I still do recommend it, especially if you're a Filipino. I mean, just seeing the MRT, friggin' Jollibee, and all the other things from your own country in an anime is just worth it. You know how we Filipinos are, how we Filipinos feel about getting Easter eggs from our own country. And of course, you know, the show is definitely interesting. The world of Trese is very unique and very creative. The way they make things look the way they are, how the world interacts with each other is very interesting. You'll definitely find something that will pique your interest. I really hope they add more episodes or more runtime in the following seasons. Even though by the end, I think they're going a different direction to what the comics stand for. So it's like this entire separate thing now. Well, anyway, I just kind of want more Trese. It's kind of nice too to finally have something you can say you're proud of as a Filipino. Even though this country is still a goddamn mess, at least I have Trese to promote to other people who are like, oh, what do you have? I'll be like, hey, we got Trese. Which is not really saying a lot again. Anyway, that's it from me. See you next upload. Stay safe, take care, and remember,
be careful where you tread.
bye bye.